He's 82. He welcomes customers at Walmart. Because he has no retirement. The automatic doors slide open with a soft sound. It's 6 a.m. The fluorescent lights inside still clash with the clarity of the morning outside. And there he is, standing there in a faded blue vest and a name badge almost no one reads. 82 years old, still working, gray hair, slightly hunched shoulders, hands marked by time, holding a clipboard with notes no one will ever check. He smiles, not a big, commercial smile. A polite one, tired, but sincere. Good morning, welcome to Walmart. He says it dozens of times a day, hundreds of times a week, thousands of times a year. People walk in, some nod back. Most walk straight past him, staring at their phones, their shopping lists, anywhere but him. And that's okay. He's used to it. But there's something no one ever asks. No one stops and says, "Sir, why are you still here? Why, at 82 years old with a body that's begging for rest, are you standing here greeting strangers at the entrance of a supermarket?" No one asks, because everyone already knows the answer, or pretends not to. He's not there because he loves Walmart. He's not there because it fulfills him. He's there because he has to be, because the retirement he imagined never came. Or it came, but brought only crumbs. Because Social Security covers the rent but not the food, covers the electricity but not the medication. And when you're 82 years old, medication is not optional. So he wakes up every day, puts on the vest, takes the bus or whatever ride he can get, and he goes. He doesn't complain. He doesn't ask for pity. He does the job, with dignity. But if you look into his eyes, if you really stop and look, you'll see something no smile can hide. Exhaustion. Not just physical exhaustion. Soul-deep exhaustion. The kind that comes from working your entire life believing that one day you'd be able to stop, and discovering that you can't. This man is not a fictional character. He exists. By the thousands. In every Walmart, every supermarket, every corner of America. They are the invisible ones. The people society failed to protect. Or worse, the people who were never taught how to protect themselves. And the truth is harsh. He could be your father, your grandfather, or you a few decades from now. Because his mistake wasn't laziness, it wasn't stupidity. It was simply believing that working hard would be enough. That thinking about it later was a valid strategy. That the future would take care of itself. Spoiler, the future doesn't. And now, at 82 years old, as the automatic doors open and close, he's still there. Smiling, greeting, surviving. Not because he wants to, but because he has no choice. Because at some point in his life decades ago he made decisions that seemed harmless. Or rather, he didn't make decisions at all, and that was even worse. He let time pass. He let money slip away. He left the future for later. And now later has arrived. And later doesn't forgive. Good morning. Welcome to Walmart. He wasn't always that man in the blue vest at the Walmart entrance. There was a time when he was young, strong, full of energy and vague plans about the future. In his early 20s, he worked hard. Construction, factory jobs, deliveries, whatever was available. He woke up early, came home late, collected his paycheck at the end of the month, and felt like he was doing everything right. After all, he was working, and working was what everyone did. Retirement? That was for old people. And he was young. He had decades ahead of him. I'll think about that later. That sentence, so simple, so common, so fatal, was repeated hundreds of times throughout his life. When someone mentioned investing, he thought, I still have time. When people talked about saving, he thought, I'll start later. When warned about planning for the future, he smiled and said, relax, I'm still young. And he was being honest. It wasn't laziness. It wasn't irresponsibility. It was simply ignorance. No one ever sat him down and truly explained how time works. How fast the years go by. How short youth really is. How old age arrives without warning. Of course, there were bills to pay. There always were. The old car that broke down every month. The rent that kept rising. The kids who needed clothes, school supplies, dental care. Nothing was left over. But he thought that was normal. That everyone lived on the edge. That somehow, one day, things would get better. In America, millions of people grow up this way. Working hard, paying bills, living on autopilot. The culture doesn't teach financial planning in schools. Parents don't teach it because they were never taught themselves. And jobs rarely offer real retirement education, just a 401k form no one truly understands. So most people do exactly what he did. Nothing. Not out of bad intentions, but out of lack of knowledge, lack of urgency, out of the belief that there's still time. He watched the years go by, 30, 40, 50, and with every passing decade he told himself, well, now it's harder, but there's still time. He never stopped to do the math, never calculated how much he would need, never asked, if I stop working at 65, how much will I need to live until 80? And what if I live to 90? Those questions were never asked, because the future was always something far away, until it wasn't. In his 60s, his body began to protest. His back hurt more. His knee locked up. The exhaustion no longer went away with a good night's sleep. And for the first time, he looked at his bank account with real fear. There was nothing there. Empty. Decades of work. And nothing to show for it. He went into silent panic. He didn't tell anyone. He didn't ask for help. He just kept working. And working. And working. Because what else could he do? Retirement, that distant thing he had always postponed, was now knocking at the door. But it arrived empty. No money. No security. No choices. And he realized, too late, that time waits for no one. That later always turns into now. And that ignoring the future doesn't make it disappear. It makes it arrive worse. So now, at 82 years old, he puts on the blue vest. And he works. Because the alternative is not eating. Not having a place to live. Not being able to pay for the medication that keeps his heart beating. The future arrived. And he wasn't ready. The money came in. And went out. Came in. And went out. Like a revolving door that never stopped. He wasn't irresponsible. He didn't waste money on foolish things. He didn't have expensive addictions. He didn't gamble. He didn't drink excessively. He simply lived. And living in America is expensive. Every month followed the same script. His paycheck hit the account on Friday. On Saturday, he paid the rent. On Monday, the electric bill. On Tuesday, the credit card, always the minimum, because paying it off was impossible. On Wednesday, car insurance. On Thursday, groceries. And by the end of the week, he checked his balance and there was nothing left. Zero. Sometimes less than zero. And the cycle started again. Month after month. Year after year. Decade after decade. He couldn't quite understand how he had ended up there. He worked. He always worked. So why did the money never stay? Why, after so much effort, could he never move forward? The answer was simple, but no one had ever explained it to him. Earning money is not the same as building wealth. He earned, but he didn't save. He didn't invest. He didn't plan. The money came in and went out in the same month, sometimes in the same week. And he thought that was normal, that this was just how life worked. After all, everyone around him lived the same way. Coworkers, neighbors, family. No one talked about investing. No one talked about retirement. No one talked about compound interest, index funds, or planning 30 years ahead. The conversations were always about the present, about paying bills, about surviving until the next paycheck, about hoping the car wouldn't break down because there was no money for repairs. And when someone, rarely, mentioned saving money, his answer was always the same. Saving what? There's nothing left. And he was right. Technically. Because he structured his life so that nothing was left over. He didn't make a budget. He didn't cut unnecessary expenses. He didn't prioritize the future. He simply reacted to the present, paid what needed to be paid, bought what needed to be bought, and whatever was left, when there was anything left, disappeared into small things. A dinner out, a gift for the kids, an unexpected repair. They weren't outrageous expenses, but they were constant. And added up over decades, they represented a fortune he never had the chance to build. No one ever taught him that $10 a day, invested consistently, could turn into hundreds of thousands over 30 years. No one explained that cutting a small expense today meant enormous security in the future. No one told him that the biggest mistake wasn't earning too little. It was not planning at all. And so the years passed, and he stayed on autopilot, working, paying bills, surviving, until the day came when surviving was no longer enough, because his body asked for rest, because age arrived, because he finally needed the money he had never saved. And when he opened the bank account, he saw the same as always, Nothing. But this time, there was no more time to change anything. No more decades ahead. No more strength to work like before. There was only reality. Raw. Inevitable. The money had always slipped away. And now, at 82, he still had to chase it. 65 years old. The age everyone looks forward to. The age of freedom. The age to finally stop. He reached it. And he didn't feel relief. He felt fear. Because when you spend your entire life without planning, 65 isn't a celebration. It's an ultimatum. The body says, enough. But the bank account says, keep going. He tried to retire. For real. He quit the factory job. Signed up for Social Security. Waited for the first payment with a mix of hope and anxiety. When the money came in, he looked at the amount. And his stomach sank. $1,200. That was it. After more than 40 years of work. After decades of waking up early, sacrificing his body, paying taxes, $1,200 a month. He did the math quickly. Rent, $800. Utilities, water, internet, $150. Food, $300 if he economized a lot. Medication, $250. And that's being optimistic because high blood pressure doesn't take a break and diabetes doesn't negotiate. Total, $1,500. He needed $1,500, but he received $1,200, $300 short, every month. And he had no savings, no investments, nothing to cover the gap. The math was cruel and simple. He couldn't retire. So, 3 months after quitting, he went back to work. Not at the factory. His body couldn't handle it anymore. But at something lighter, or at least that's what they said. A Walmart greeter. 6 hours a day. Feet on the floor. Smile on his face. It wasn't what he dreamed of, but it was all he could do. And so, the retirement that was supposed to be rest became just a uniform change. He kept working. He kept getting tired. He kept having no choice. The worst part wasn't the work itself. It was the feeling that he had failed, that somehow he had done everything wrong. He looked around and saw people his age traveling, resting, enjoying their grandchildren. And he asked himself, why is it different for me? He already knew the answer, but it hurt to admit, because he hadn't planned, because he hadn't saved, because he had spent decades believing the future would take care of itself. And now the future had arrived, and it was collecting. His body ached more each year. His back complained after a few hours standing. His feet swelled. His vision failed. But he couldn't stop, because stopping meant not eating, not paying rent, not buying medicine. And at 82, he was still there, at the Walmart door, greeting strangers, smiling when he didn't feel like it, working when he should have been resting. Retirement had arrived, technically, on the calendar, on the government document, but in practice, he never stopped. Because retirement without money isn't retirement. It's just old age with a uniform. And while the automatic doors open and close, he sometimes thinks about how it could have been different if he had started earlier, if he had saved a little, if someone had explained, but ifs don't pay the bills. Ifs don't buy food. Ifs don't change the past. So he keeps going, because there's no other option. The body asks for rest, but life says no. 6 hours on his feet, every day. It may seem little, but at 82, 6 hours on your feet feels like an eternity. He arrives at Walmart at 6 in the morning, before the customers, before the rush. The parking lot is still empty, silent. He clocks in, puts on the blue vest, grabs the clipboard, and heads to the door. And he stays there, from 6 until noon, sometimes until 1 in the afternoon, if the other greeter is late. He doesn't complain. He can't complain. He needs this job. The first 2 hours are quiet. Few people. He can lean a little on the wall, breathe. But after 8, the traffic picks up, and he has to stay alert, smiling, greeting, answering questions about where products are, which aisle has what. He doesn't know the answer to half the questions, but he improvises. He points. He helps. Because that's what's expected of him. And while he stands there, his body complains. His back first. Always the back. Then the knees. Then the feet. A dull pain that never fully goes away, only changes in intensity. Sometimes he thinks, if I could just sit for 5 minutes. But he can't. There's no chair. No bench. The store policy is clear. Greeters stand. Because customers prefer to be greeted by someone who looks attentive, active, ready to help. Someone sitting gives the wrong impression. So he stands, at 82 years old, joints creaking, body begging for rest. He stands, and he smiles, because the job demands it too. It's not enough to be present. He has to look happy. He has to be kind. He has to make the customer feel welcome, even when he doesn't feel welcome himself. It's not easy. There are days when he wakes up and everything hurts. Days when he looks in the mirror and thinks, I can't take this anymore. But he goes, because the alternative is worse. He's not at Walmart as a hobby. He's not there because he loves customer service. He's not there because he always dreamed of working in retail. He's there because he needs the extra $300 this job pays. Because without those $300, he can't make it through the month. Simple as that. And there's a strange dignity in that. A dignity he carries carefully, because he could have given up. He could have asked his children for help, if they could help. He could have accepted that life was over and surrendered to misery. But he didn't. He keeps fighting, keeps waking up, keeps working. But dignity doesn't remove fatigue. Pride doesn't heal back pain. And willpower doesn't make the body young again. So he works, and it hurts. And he smiles, and it hurts. And he greets, and it hurts. Every day. And when the shift ends, when he finally clocks out and leaves through the same door he spent hours guarding, he feels a brief relief. But he also feels fear, because tomorrow he'll have to do it all over again. And the day after tomorrow, and the day after that, until his body can't take it anymore. And the truth nobody says but everyone knows is that the body can't hold on forever. But as long as it can, he'll be there, at the Walmart door, smiling, greeting, surviving. His mistake wasn't earning little. It wasn't being lazy. It wasn't being unlucky. His mistake was not planning. And this is the same mistake millions of people make every day, unknowingly, without malice, simply out of ignorance. Because nobody teaches this, not in school, not at home, not at work. Society teaches you to work, teaches you to obey, teaches you to pay bills, but it doesn't teach you how to build security for the future. So most people do what he did: work, earn, spend, repeat, and hope that somehow magically it will all work out in the end. But it doesn't. The biggest mistake, the mistake that defines decades of suffering, has 3 parts, and he made them all. First mistake, not starting early. He was 20 years old when he started working. If he had saved just $50 a month, just 50, and invested it at an average return of 7% per year, in 40 years he would have had more than $120,000. $120,000, just from $50 a month. But he didn't know that. Nobody explained it. So he spent those $50 on things he doesn't even remember anymore, and lost a fortune without even realizing it. Because time is the most valuable asset there is. More than money, more than intelligence, more than luck. Whoever starts early, even with little, wins. Whoever waits too long, loses. Always. Second mistake, ignoring compound interest. He never really understood what compound interest was. It seemed like something for rich people, for those with a lot of extra money, but it's not. Compound interest is simple. You put money to work for you, and over time, that money generates more money, which generates more money, which generates more money. It's like a snowball rolling down a hill, getting bigger and bigger, but it only works if you start rolling the ball. If you leave it still, nothing happens. And he left it still, his whole life. While he worked hard, the money he could have invested just sat there. Or worse, it was spent, and it never got the chance to grow. Third mistake, thinking, there's time later. This was the fatal mistake, the mistake that killed any chance of a dignified retirement. At 20, he thought, I have 40 years to think about it. At 30, I still have 30 years. At 40, 20 years is still enough. At 50, it's harder now, but 10 years helps. At 60, damn. Time didn't wait for him to be ready. Time didn't wait for him to have extra money. Time didn't wait for him to learn. Time just passed, and it took all the opportunities with it. Because in the end, the problem wasn't a lack of money. It was a lack of planning, a lack of education, a lack of urgency. He could have earned less and retired comfortably if he had planned. Many people earn high salaries and reach 70 broke, because earning isn't the problem. The problem is not knowing what to do with what you earn. And the hard but necessary truth is this: you can work hard your whole life and end up with nothing. If you don't plan, if you don't invest, if you don't prioritize the future. Hard work doesn't guarantee retirement, planning does. And he learned that. Too late. At 82 years old. Standing at the Walmart door. But you still have time. If you're reading this, you still have time. The question is, will you use this time? Or will you make the same mistake? If he could go back in time and talk to the 20-year-old he once was, do you know what he would say? It wouldn't be, work harder. It wouldn't be, earn more money. It would simply be, start, now, don't wait. Because his mistake wasn't a lack of effort. It was a lack of action at the right moment. It was letting time pass, thinking there would always be another moment, another month, another year. But time doesn't go back, and the right moment is always now. So if you're reading this, no matter your age, no matter how much you earn, this is the message he would want you to hear. Don't wait until you're 82 to think about your future, because when you get there, the future will have already become the present. And if you're unprepared, the present will be painful. It will be exhausting. It will be unfair. You might think you're far away, that you still have time, that you'll deal with it later, but that's exactly what he thought. And now later has arrived, and he's standing, 6 hours a day, at 82 years old, smiling at strangers, because he has to. You don't have to end up like that. You have a choice he didn't have, the choice to start before it's too late. And starting doesn't mean being rich. It doesn't mean having thousands of dollars left over. It just means deciding that your future matters, that you deserve to rest one day, that you won't work until your last breath because you have no other option. Start by saving $10 a week. Start by learning about investing. Start by making a budget. Start by cutting an unnecessary expense. Start by asking, where do I want to be in 30 years? And then work today not just to survive tomorrow, because life isn't just about paying bills. It's not just about surviving until the next paycheck. Life is about building something that protects you when you can no longer protect yourself. And the future, your future, deserves respect. It deserves that you pause, that you think, that you plan. It's not asking for perfection, it's asking for attention. So look at that 82-year-old man at the Walmart door. Really look, and ask yourself, do I want to be him in a few decades? If the answer is no, then change. Now, because time is passing. While you read this, while you hesitate, while you postpone, time waits for no one. And in 30, 40, 50 years, you'll look back, and you'll have one of two reactions. Either you'll be proud you started today, or you'll regret not starting. The choice is yours. Always has been. He didn't have that choice. Because nobody explained, nobody warned, nobody showed the way, but you do. Now you know. Now you have no excuse. So what will you do? Will you keep postponing, keep ignoring, keep repeating the same mistakes, or will you stop, breathe, and start building the future you deserve? The door is open, literally and figuratively. He's there at the Walmart door every day as a living reminder of what happens when you don't act. But you don't have to walk through that door like he does. You can walk through it just as a customer, as a visitor, someone who buys what they need and goes home to rest. Because you planned, because you acted, because you respected your future while there was still time. That's the message. Don't leave it for later. Don't ignore it. Don't wait. Your future deserves respect. And that respect starts today. If you don't want to work out of necessity at the end of your life, subscribe to the channel. Your future deserves more than improvisation.